Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Suranandana Brajajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Bhanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Vallabha Girivardhari Jashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Sisi Radha Madhava ki Sisi Radha Giridhari Jayo Viṣṇu Bhagavatam Hamsa Puri Raja Gajaja Shodhara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jai Jai Om Viṣṇu Bhagavatam Hamsa Puri Raja Gajaja Shodhara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Śrīla Bhakti Saranta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jai Nanda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai Śrīla Vrindavan Das Thakur ki Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Samveda Bhakti ki Jai Go Premanandi All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories assembled devotees All glories Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Shrimad Bhaktivedanta Sangauramani Pracharaneni Avishesha Shanyavari Pasyadhyani Hare Krishna Hare Bol. So on the disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, in one lecture, he told a story about the sadhu who was sitting there, and different people came to him asking for different benedictions, that don't live, don't die. You know that story? Don't live, don't die. Live, die. Died, live. Or live or die. You know that story? So who is it he told to don't live or don't die? The butcher. Okay, how about live but don't die? Right, the prince. Okay, how about what did he say to the brahmachari? Die right now. Don't live. But the devotee, he said, live or die. Doesn't matter. The devotee, it's coming or going, it's all, you're in Krishna's service. So today's the disappearance day of one of the greatest acharyas and devotees in our line, Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur. So there's a short biography here I'll read first, then we'll go into the Bhagavatam class, asking for his mercy upon us on this day of his disappearance. So the mother of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur was Sri Narayani Devi, the niece of Srivas Pandit. Do you know who Srivas Pandit is? He belongs to the thing called the Panchatattva. So this is his niece. His niece. In his Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vrindavan Das has described how his mother attained the affectionate fervor of Sri Gaurasundar. Quote, Narayani Devi received the entire remnants of Mahaprabhu's meal. Though she was only an insensible child. What does that mean, an insensible child? Just a kid, right? Just a little kid. Okay? Little child. He bestowed his mercy on her in this way. So he got a lot of Mahaprasadam. So we should always have a lot of Mahaprasadam just in case. Also, as a result of this mercy, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, whose life and soul was Sri Gaura Nityananda, took his birth from her womb. He hasn't mentioned the name of his father. It is believed that Narayani Devi was married to someone at Kumarahatta. However, while she was still carrying the child in her womb, she was widowed. What does that mean? Yeah. Okay. Being reduced to a condition of poverty by the loss of her husband, she finally accepted shelter in the house of Sri Vasudev Datta Thakur at Mamgachi, where she helped with the housework. Here, Vrindavan Das began his studies. In the preface of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati has written, quote, Narayani Dasi raised her child in the home of the father of Sri Malini Devi, where she had accepted shelter. Vrindavan Das was born 4 years after Mahaprabhu took sannyas. When Mahaprabhu disappeared, he couldn't have been more than 20 years old. That's Vrindavan Das. He was initiated by Sri Nityananda Prabhu and was apparently the last disciple whom Sri Nityananda accepted. Just made it under the, like that. He accompanied Sri Janava Mata to the Keturi Maha Mahotsava. Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has glorified Vrindavan Das Thakur as the Veda Vyas of the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Quote, the pastimes of Krishna have been described in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Veda Vyas. Vrindavan Das is the Veda Vyas of the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya. He has composed Chaitanya Mangala, which later became Chaitanya Bhagavat, which destroys any inauspiciousness for those who hear it, so that we can understand the glories of Chaitanya Nitai, the essence of the conclusions regarding devotional service as expanded in Srimad Bhagavatam, and the limits of the conclusions regarding Krishna Bhakti. He has composed this great literature to uplift mankind. To compose such a work is not conceivable for a human being. Therefore, we can understand that Sri Chaitanya himself is speaking through him. I offer my obeisances tens of millions of times at the lotus feet of that person who has given us such a scripture which can deliver the whole world. Vrindavan Das Thakur's Shripat, in fact, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that he's just chewing the remnants left by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur in reference to his compiling the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Vrindavan Das Thakur's Shripat, where his worshipful deities of Sri Gaura Nitai are still residing, is at Dennur. Dennur can be reached by bus from Navadvip. And that's it. That's the end of the biography. So, have you been there? Do you know this place? Person has Ramapati, he's probably been there. Have you been there? Denur. Okay, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai. Okay, so this morning Bhagavatam's class. And what's the verse on the board? 21. Okay, so we start with 21. And I know which one I'm supposed to stop with. It's about Lord Śiva. Okay, so text 21. Do I have that right? Maybe I should double check. Maybe that's the verse for... Give me one moment here. Look at my schedule. Here we go. Mukunda. See, I start with 12, and 21's on the board, right? Okay, that's the last one. Okay, so I'll read the translations up to 21, starting with 12. Okay, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 8th Canto, Chapter 7, Lord Śiva Saves the Universe, text 12 through 21. We'll read the translations from 12 through 20. Manifesting himself with thousands of hands, the Lord then appeared on the summit of Mandara mountain, like another great mountain, and held Mandara mountain with one hand. Because what was happening to the mountain? In the upper planetary systems, Lord Brahmā and Lord Śiva, along with Indra, the king of heaven, and other demigods, offered prayers to the Lord and showered flowers upon him. Purport: to balance Mandara mountain while it was being pulled from both sides, the Lord himself appeared on its summit like another great mountain. Lord Brahmā, Lord Śiva, and King Indra then expanded themselves and showered flowers on the Lord. So he's holding it in place because they're spinning it. It's a churning rod. Text 13, the demigods and demons worked almost madly for the nectar. How hard would you work if you could drink something and become immortal? Pretty exciting stuff, right? Almost as good as Krishna consciousness. The demigods and demons worked almost madly for the nectar, encouraged by the Lord, who was above and below the mountain. He's above as the deity you just met, and then below as Kurma. Below the mountain, and who had entered the demigods, the demons, Vasuki, and the mountain itself. Because of the strength of the demigods and demons, the ocean of milk was so powerfully agitated that all the alligators in the water were very much perturbed. Nonetheless, the churning of the ocean continued in this way. Text 14. Vasuki had thousands of eyes and mouths. From his mouths he breathed smoke and blazing fire, which affected the demons, headed by Paulama, Kaileya, Bali, and Ilvala. Thus the demons, who appeared like sarala trees burnt by a forest fire, gradually became powerless. They wanted the front, right? That already was described. Oh, we want the front, so they just got fired. Text 15, because the demigods were also affected by the blazing breath of Vasuki, their bodily lusters diminished, and their garments, garlands, weapons, and faces were blackened by smoke. However, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, clouds appeared on the sea, pouring torrents of rain, and breezes blew, carrying particles of water from the sea waves, giving the demigods relief. So Krishna is making one arrangement for them. Text 16, when nectar did not come from the ocean of milk, despite so much endeavor by the best of the demigods and demons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a Jita person, began to churn the ocean. So he got right down there and started churning the ocean. Text 17, the Lord appeared like a blackish cloud. He was dressed with yellow garments. His earrings shone on his ears like lightning, and his hair spread all over his shoulders. He wore a garland of flowers, and his eyes were pinkish. With his strong, glorious arms, which award fearlessness throughout the universe, he took hold of Vasuki. He must have been pretty ecstatic, Vasuki must have been, maybe it's described here, ecstatic. Krishna grabbed him and started using him, churning him. He took hold of Vasuki and began churning the ocean using Mandara mountain as a churning rod. When engaged in this way, the Lord appeared like a beautifully situated mountain named Indranila. Text 18, the fish, sharks, tortoises, and snakes were most agitated and perturbed. The entire ocean became turbulent, and even the large aquatic animals like whales, water elephants, crocodiles, and timagila fish, large whales that can swallow small whales, came to the surface. While the ocean was being churned in that way, it first produced a fiercely dangerous poison called hala hala. Text 19. O king, when that uncontrollable poison was forcefully spreading up and down in all directions, all the demigods, along with the Lord himself, approached Lord Śiva, Sadashiva. Feeling unsheltered and very much afraid, they sought shelter of him. Purport. One may question that since the Supreme Personality of Godhead was personally present, why did he accompany all the demigods and people in general to take shelter of Lord Sadashiva instead of intervening himself? Did anyone think about that question? Why didn't he just take care of things? I mean, he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this connection, Srila Madhvacharya warns, Rudrasya yashasho rataya swayam Viṣṇur visham vibahu na sajare samartopi vayum choche prasante. Lord Viṣṇu was competent to rectify the situation, but in order to give credit to Lord Śiva, who later drank all the poison and kept it in his neck, Lord Viṣṇu did not take action. So sometimes we see this is also brought out when Bhima met his brother in the Himalayas. Who's Bhima's brother? Hanuman. And at first he approached him. Hanuman was very tired, and his tail was across the trail. And Bhima told him, "Come on, move your tail." And he wouldn't do it, so he tried to pick it up. He couldn't pick it up. And then, anyways, he realized it was Hanuman. But one question he asked him is, when you went and rescued Sita, why didn't you, you're pretty powerful. Why didn't you just kill Ravana at that time and, take Sita back? And Hanuman said, I could have done all that. Yes, I'm completely competent. I could have ended it all right there. Just destroyed Lanka, killed Ravana, and take Sita back. But I want to leave that for Lord Ramachandra. So sometimes the devotees does that, sometimes the Lord does it, just to glorify the other person. Just like the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna left it for Arjuna and the Pandavas to fight. He could have just finished it right there, but he wanted his devotees to become glorious. Prabhupada said that about Lord Chaitanya. I think Vishnu Jan Swami asked him about why didn't Lord Chaitanya just spread the movement all over the world? And he said he wanted to leave something for his devotees to do. Like that. So yeah, Krishna can do everything. Like Prabhupada said about the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Prabhupada said, it's not that Krishna said to Arjuna, you just sit down and smoke ganja, I'll take care of everything. So Krishna didn't say that. He could have done everything, but he wants to give his devotees, to be glorified. So why do we have so much work to do? Krishna wants us to be glorified, wants his devotees to be glorified, wants Prabhupada to be glorified as that person who spread Krishna consciousness all over the world with his Krishna consciousness movement. So those are some things to think about. Text 20, getting close. The demigods observed Lord Śiva sitting on the summit of Kailash Hill with his wife Bhavani for the auspicious development of the three worlds. He was being worshipped by great saintly persons desiring liberation. The demigods offered him their obeisances and prayers with great respect. And this is text 21. Okay. So we'll do one word at a time. Sri Pajapataya Uchu Deva Deva Mahadeva Bhutatman Bhutabhavana Trahi Na Sharanapannams Trailokya Dahanad Vasat Shri Prajapataya Uchu Deva Deva Mahadeva Bhutatman Bhuta Bhavana Trahina Sharanapanams Trilokya Dananad Vishat Sri Prajapataya Uchu Deva Deva Mahadeva Bhutatman Bhuta Bhavana Trahina Sharanapanams Trilokya Dahanad Vasat. Anyone like to chant? Anyone else?
Shri Prajapataya Uchu Deva Deva Mahadeva Bhutatman Bhuta Bhavana Rahina Sharanapanang Trailokya Dahanadvishat
Shri Prajapataya Uchu Deva Deva Mahadeva Bhutatman Bhuta Bhavana Trahina Sharanapanam
Save the best.
Trilokya Dahanadvishat.
Okay, save the best for last. Go ahead. Sri Prajapataya Uchu Bhutatman Bhuta Bhavana Trahina Sharanapamams Triloka Danavad Vishat. Word for word. Shri Prajapataya Uchu. The Prajapatis said, Deva Deva, O Lord Mahadev, best of the demigods. Mahadeva, O great demigod. Bhutatman, O life and soul of everyone in this world. Bhuta Bhavana, O cause of the happiness and flourishing of all of them. Trahi, deliver. Na, us. Sharana apanan, who have taken shelter at your lotus feet. Trilokya, of the three worlds. Dahanat, which is causing the burning. Vishat, from this poison. The Prajapati said, O greatest of all demigods, Mahadev, super soul of all living entities and cause of their happiness and prosperity, we have come to the shelter of your lotus feet. Now please save us from this fiery poison which is spreading all over the three worlds. Purport. Since Lord Śiva is in charge of annihilation, why should he be approached for protection, which is given by Lord Viṣṇu? Lord Brahmā creates, and Lord Śiva annihilates, but both Lord Brahmā and Lord Śiva are incarnations of Lord Viṣṇu and are known as śaktyāveśa-avatāras. Those who are endowed with a special power like that of Lord Viṣṇu, who is actually all-pervading in their activities. Therefore, whenever prayers for protection are offered to Lord Śiva, actually Lord Viṣṇu is indicated, for otherwise Lord Viṣṇu is meant for destruction. Lord Śiva is one of the Ishwaras or controllers known as śaktyāveśa-avatāras. Therefore, he can be addressed as having the qualities of Lord Viṣṇu. Okay, so tomorrow's class is on 22, right? Okay, they're both kind of connected. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshuranminitam Dena Taismai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mayam Dadati Swapadandikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Vanchikapatarupashcha Kripa Sindhu Bhavacha Patidanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Obeisances to all the devotees. Could you open that door a little bit more, Shankashan, please? Thank you. The Prajapati said, O greatest of all demigods, Mahadev, super soul of all living entities, in cause of their happiness and prosperity, we have come to the shelter of your lotus feet. Now please save us from this fiery poison which is spreading all over the three worlds. So, the position of Lord Śiva and Lord Viṣṇu and Lord Brahmā, śaktyāveśa-avatāras. Now there is a verse, and this may come up again in tomorrow's class, but I know so much in the West. But I guess people who are into bhajans and a little bit of India, they don't make much of a distinction between Lord Śiva and Lord Viṣṇu and themselves. We're all one. But Shiva, like they have Shiva Kirtan. Like Prabhupada said, what is this Shiva Kirtan, Kali Kirtan? The Vedas only talk about Krishna Kirtan, but somehow or other they're singing all these names and so on. But in India, even to this day, let alone in previous times, especially in South India, always a unsettled dispute between the Vaishnavas and the Shaivites. Who actually is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Who is supreme? Some will say it's Lord Śiva, and some will say it's Lord Viṣṇu. And it doesn't look like there's going to be an agreement, right? They keep having their debates and so on and so on and so on. But a little bit of description here is that, well, the verse I wanted to read is one you know from the Brahma Samhita, the one about yogurt and milk. Kshiram yata dadi means yogurt. Vikara vishesha yogat sanjayate nahitata paritag astahito ya sambutam apita sami patikaryat govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. So there's a very proper understanding which actually can solve this dilemma for those who are trying to understand who is Supreme Lord Śiva, Lord Viṣṇu. It says, just as milk is transformed into yogurt by the action of acids, but yet the effect yogurt is neither the same as nor different from its cause, milk, so I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state of Sambhu is a transformation for the performance of the work of destruction. So right there, the purport Prabhupada points us out, Krishna transforms or manifests a particular form. And that is Shambhu, or Lord Śiva. I mean, ultimately everything is coming from Krishna, but Lord Śiva actually is coming from Lord Viṣṇu. And very particular, it's described earlier in this chapter of the Brahmā Samhita that when Lord Viṣṇu, the picture over there in the corner, when he glances over the material energy, that glance is known as Sadashiva, and a personified form becomes Shambhu, or Sadashiva. It's the glance of Viṣṇu becomes, in other words, Lord Viṣṇu never touches the material energy, but he takes a form in which he touches the material energy, and that's Lord Śiva. And practically speaking, there is no difference, just like both milk and yogurt are milk products. But they're not the same. They're not the same, but they're both milk products. And yogurt comes from milk. Milk doesn't come from yogurt. So there's a distinction there, a fine distinction. But it's very, very, very subtle. And there are verses where Lord Śiva, or Lord Viṣṇu, explains that anyone who criticizes Lord Śiva can't have my mercy. And actually, it's not a matter of, we have no criticism of Lord Śiva as Vaishnavas. The Vaishnavas are criticizing the Shaivites who say that Lord Śiva is greater than Lord Viṣṇu. In fact, it's described that one of the characteristics of the Vaishnava, or one of the aparāds, is disrespect the demigods. They're all servants of the Lord. If you disrespect someone's servant, what does that say about your relationship with the master? Right? Be very, very careful. I remember once I was working at Torchlight with Dvaita, and my oldest daughter Chintamani, after graduating from college, she started working there also. Dvaita gave her a job for some time. And there was some dispute with or misunderstanding with some client. And I remember Dvaita got on the phone and just got on that person's case. You never talk to my employees that way, and this and that. I mean, just like really put him in his place. That was quite nice. I was quite proud of him. And, because she was working for him, and he just went right into that guy. He said, so a servant belongs to the master, and the master looks after him. One has to be very careful so you just disrespect someone. In fact, we can carry that to the extreme that everything is Krishna's. Not everyone is Krishna's, and everything is Krishna's. So that's why a devotee is very careful about everything. Even kitchen shoes, right? Even something as insignificant as knock-up, what do they call those? Crocs. Not even Crocs. They're knockoff Crocs. I mean, talk about a lowly position. But is respectful even to kitchen shoes, that they will not leave the kitchen. So this is a sign of a great Vaishnava. But, because everything is Krishna's. So why is Lord Śiva so great? Shiva means all auspicious. It's actually a name for Krishna. Krishna is all auspicious. But he's manifesting himself in the particular form as Sadashiva. In fact, Shiva is not a jiva. Shiva is not a jiva. You make a t-shirt like that. Shiva is not a jiva. He's Shiva Tattva. Special personality. He's the personified glance of Lord Viṣṇu. So, practically speaking, all-powerful. Practically speaking, there is no difference between the two. It's just Lord Viṣṇu in touch with the material energy. Like that. And, one thing is described that who is Lord Śiva? He's always in meditation. He's famous for always being in meditation. Who is he meditating on? What form of the Lord? Yeah. He's meditating on Sankarshan, wondering why he wears kitchen shoes out of the kitchen. No. He's meditating on Lord Sankarshan. Okay. So that's his object of meditation. So there's no misunderstanding here whatsoever. And even though Lord Śiva is in charge of annihilation, it's not that that's all he can do. He just walks around annihilating things, breaking things. No. He's all auspicious, and he's given great benedictions and blessings, and he's the husband of Bhavani, Durga, material nature. In fact, he is very much responsible for material prosperity, and that's why those who follow the Vedic path really, really like worshiping Lord Śiva. That's really why they want to worship Lord Śiva, because he very easily gives material blessings, whereas Krishna doesn't very easily give material blessings. That's why he's so popular. That's why he's so popular. Because the motivation is, I want to enjoy in this material world, and which of these demigods will give it to me, quickly. And right there in the Bhagavad Gita, that's brought up. They worship the demigods because the results come very quickly. And he's Ashutosh, he's very easily pleased. So why not go with Lord Śiva? Why not go with Lord Śiva? So that's why he's very, very popular. And it's seen that the devotees of Lord Śiva, although he lives underneath the tree, practically naked, his devotees are very, very, very opulent. And conversely, the devotees of Lord Viṣṇu, and Lord Viṣṇu is Vaikuntanath. He lives in Vaikuntha, the spiritual world and palaces and all opulences. But some or other, his devotees don't have a dime, practically, right? They're very, very poor sometimes. Anyone here rich? Are you rich? No. Okay. Okay, I don't know. Right? Devotees, but why is that? Why is that? Why did Krishna keep his devotees in a very, very simple position, almost poverty-stricken? Why is that?
He only keeps those devotees poverty-stricken who would get in trouble if they had more.
Right. That's the majority of us. Okay. So he keeps it simple because we have something else to do. We have to go back home, back to Godhead, which is the greatest thing. So he's looking out after us like that. So they're offering these different prayers for protection. They're offered to Lord Śiva, but it's saying here that actually Lord Viṣṇu is indicated. Because Krishna's, and it's described earlier how Krishna entered the demigods and the demons, his potency, his shakti, for a particular reason. So Lord Śiva is empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's known as a śaktyāveśa-avatāras. And it is described that one of his main services is to annihilate this place. What a service. Isn't that amazing? That he actually is in charge of annihilation, just destroying the whole place. And then, of course, it's created again and so on. So, how powerful he must be that he can destroy a whole universe. Right? So, boy, talk about running out of time. Now, there's a story. Anyways, we should not be bewildered. Sometimes you meet Indians, they're really, really into this whole thing about Lord Śiva being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And sometimes you have to decide whether you want to argue or not. Because they're very, very, just Vaishnavanam yatā sambhu. That's our understanding. Like that. And that practically there is no difference. And if by your worship of Lord Śiva, you become a devotee of Viṣṇu and Krishna, then that's perfection. By your worship of Lord Śiva, if you just stay in the material world, what's the point? What's the value? Right? Because the material world is temporary, full of misery, birth, death, disease, and old age. So you're not really achieving something very exalted. So you may want to think about that, right? So we will encourage people in their worship of Lord Śiva that he will lead you on the path back home, back to Godhead by putting you in the association of devotees. And he's a devotee himself. But he has a broad spectrum of services he has to do. He's known as Bhutanath. What does Bhutanath mean? Lord of the ghosts and very fallen souls. So it's just see how kind he is. It's like some of Prabhupada's godbrothers criticized Srila Prabhupada that he came to the West and he preached with hippies and low-class people, and they said they were above that. They were above that. They couldn't do that. So, but that's a sign of great compassion and mercy that even the most fallen. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Patita Pavana. He's the deliverer of the most fallen. So that's the age of Kali. People are pretty much fallen. So Lord Śiva is very, very kind. He is actually helping deliver the lowest lowest personalities, give them a chance, give everyone a chance somehow or other, in the gradual progress back home, back to Godhead. So, because of the time, we'll end here. It's 8:31. Are there any questions, any discussion about Vrindavan Das Thakur or this particular succession of verses in the Bhagavatam? Go ahead.
I'm not sure if there is a definitive answer on this, but at least I'm curious if you have any perspective on this. When Srila Prabhupada speaks about different people throughout the world and they're worshiping God, but they worship God using different names, and then he'll say that as long as you're praying to God, even if there are misconceptions, that prayer to God is heard by God, and so on. And so he would use one of the prayers or names or paths he would appreciate would be Christianity, those who are praying to Jesus Christ. And so he seemed to suggest, or clearly say, that those who are praying to Jesus Christ, are praying to the Lord, but saying the Lord is Jesus Christ, then they are receiving benefit from that. But Srila Prabhupada himself didn't accept Jesus Christ to be God. Now, sometimes Srila Prabhupada would say, even if you're praying to God, but through your own language or some other name, Yahweh or something like that, Allah. But that makes a little more sense to me if you're praying to God, but you think, and you use the name Allah, but then it seems in that case we're saying, okay, it's two different names for the same thing. It's like the sun or something like that. But with Jesus Christ, Srila Prabhupada's own conviction seemed to clearly be that Jesus Christ was not God, but a jiva, but a pure, like a śaktyāveśa-avatāras jiva. And yet, someone praying to Jesus Christ, thinking Jesus Christ is God, is still getting benefit. And Srila Prabhupada would even encourage people who would engage in that sort of worship. And it doesn't seem that we extend, that Srila Prabhupada, and certainly not us, devotees in ISKCON now, that we extend that same liberality to Shiva. At least I don't see that, and I never do that. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. Saying, well, you're praying to Shiva, you're worshiping Shiva as God, and that's good, you're getting benefit. Some say Allah, some say Yahweh, some say Jesus Christ, some say Shiva. I wouldn't, say that. Do you have any thoughts on this? Do you see what my confusion is?
Well, a thought, as far as the Jesus Christ, Prabhupada may be making the point that when you pray to a pure devotee, to help you in your spiritual life, there's some benefit there. Even if we have a cloudy understanding of spirituality, the fact that we're trying, because Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mayaiva vihitan hitan, that it's done without proper understanding, but there's some benefit there. There is some benefit there. But you're making a good point that if you are addressing someone as a Supreme Personality of Godhead and they're not, that's an aparad, right? That's an aparad. So does that really benefit the person? So that's a little tricky there. So it really also depends on what the person's praying for. If you're praying for pure devotional service to God, then whether you pray to a devotee, whether you pray to a particular form of the Lord, a particular name of the Lord, that's very, very good. You'll make some spiritual advancement, even though your understanding is cloudy. So we encourage people in that way. It's a long road. It's a long road back home, back to Godhead, so we want to encourage people as much as we can from wherever they're at. But the point is well taken, not to encourage them in some kind of aparad. Because just like you have these bogey yogis, if we use a term from the 70s, is that still a term that's used? Bogey yogis? Like that, They say all kinds of crazy, foolish, stupid things that they're God. Like, was it Guru Maharaji? Like that. Remember Guru Maharaji? You ever hear of him? Like that. He actually said he was God. I remember posters of him with like a little mukat, and he had a flute. Like that. He was Krishna. Then eventually his mother told him he wasn't Krishna. His brother was Krishna. So he gave up and he married a stewardess from I forget what airline. So that was the end of his avatarhood. But, in other words, these people, you'll actually hurt your spiritual life to some extent. You may actually hurt your spiritual life. So,
He was Krishna, so was spirit air.
So, okay, I don't know. Okay, maybe he's... So, Lord Śiva, again, what are you praying for? Yeah, Lord, there's a beautiful section in the Bhagavatam, 4th canto, Lord Śiva and the Prachetas and all the prayers Lord Śiva's offering, and they're ecstatic to see him. He's ecstatic to see them. They're nice devotees, and he teaches them the mantra to meditate while they're underwater, all about devotional service, pure devotional service, going back home, back to Godhead. So it's a wonderful exchange. And so, as far as praying to Lord Śiva, if you pray if for some reason or other, you're just like here, the demigods are praying to Lord Śiva, help us out. And that was Krishna's arrangement. Krishna told him, when the poison comes, I want you to pray to Lord Śiva and get him to swallow the poison. So they're praying to Lord Śiva to help with the Lord's plan, to help them all with the Lord's plan. So that's beneficial. That's beneficial. So I hope that adds a little help like that. So, but what do people pray to Christ for anyways? Did you ever pray to Jesus Christ? No? Huh? Didn't you? You were born a nice Catholic boy, weren't you? No, you weren't Catholic? Who's Catholic?
I pray to Jesus, yeah.
Okay. Pray to Jesus. You pray to Jesus. What is that about the something, because the Bible tells me so. What's that one? Okay, go ahead. I mean, people pray to Jesus usually for something nice, right?
Yeah, I mean, my grandmother used to, anyways, there's only one video I have that she would, pray, saying, when she would leave this world, she'd forget the pains, and she'd be able to hug Jesus Christ.
Be able to hug Jesus Christ. Okay.
Practically.
So,
And, be in his arms.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are all these different songs and everything, asking for deliverance and help and so on.
I did have one question about this annihilation process. When is it going to... I'm just kidding. How does that work exactly? Because Shiva destroys the universe and Mahavishnu just inhales whatever?
Yeah, it's a combination. But that whole fire and water and all the material elements becoming dismantled, Lord Śiva starts the whole thing. Yeah. Pretty amazing, huh? I don't know exactly how it's done. I kind of liked it. I didn't see the last time. We could have been through it many, many times, actually. But it has to be annihilated. Everything in this world is annihilated. Right? Bhutva paliyate. Created, annihilated again and again. Everything. I mean, on a microcosm, macrocosm. I mean, our body's being annihilated right now by time, but it's slow motion. Then all of a sudden it speeds up and you're in a car accident or you get news that you have cancer or something, that it all gets going really, really fast. But actually it's being annihilated right now. Our body's being slowly annihilated. Just like sometimes they give people poison in small amounts every day, and then the guy dies and they can't figure out how he died, but his wife poisoned him over the course of a year, or vice versa. You're being poisoned, but it's just a little bit. Just like you read these articles now about microplastics. Microplastic. Plastic doesn't break down. Hare Krishna, come on in. You can take darshan if you like. We're just finishing class. Plastic doesn't really break down. It stays in microscopic little pieces, and it gets in your body. And they'll list different kinds of food that it's very highly concentrated in, and it builds up around your cells, and it can eventually kill you like that. It's a pretty amazing environment we live in. So the point being is everything's being annihilated, but it's very, very slow. And then all of a sudden it gets quick, like that earthquake. That was pretty amazing, right? All of a sudden the whole house, everything's going like, Hare Krishna, the phone's turning red. Earthquake, earthquake! It's like, and it could have kept going, but it didn't. I mean, it could have kept going. It kept going in Myanmar, right? It really kept going in Myanmar. Thousands of people killed. One very wonderful devotee was killed. Householder there, one of the leaders. So, in Myanmar and Thailand a few weeks ago, huge earthquake. It really devastated a lot of places. Our temples were pretty beat up, pretty bad. Yeah, pretty serious. So, just there it is, annihilation.
Question?
Well, are you finished?
Is that kind of an example
Yes, exactly. That's why I brought out devotees give all kinds of service. Arjuna was given service. We're given service. Lord Śiva was given service. Brahmā is given the service of creating the universe as a seva. You know. So yes, exactly. You have a question online? Comment?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, Prabhu.
Thank you for a nice class, helping the demigods churn. So the demigods and the demons are mad to produce this nectar, which is said to produce immortality. Can you explain that? How can it be immortal if it's produced in the material world?
That's just a term for a very, very, very long life. I mean, for us it's immortal as human beings, but that's what it means. It's just a term, that it's so long it's practically immortal. Like that. That's what it's referring to. Yes, you're right. There's nothing in this material world that can make us immortal like that as far as material energy, but there are certain things that can make us live much longer. So, Govardhan Das.
Hare Krishna. I remember His Grace Rajendra Nandana Prabhu was giving class, and we spoke on this, how Kali worshippers, they would offer meat to Kali, but Rajendra Nanda Prabhu said the wife doesn't take before the husband eats, and Lord Śiva was a Vaishnava and he doesn't take meat. Right. So the people that offer these to the goddess Kali, she doesn't accept, but they're just eating it, you know.
Right, right. She gives it to her ghost associates, so you're getting Bhuta Prasad, like that. Okay. So does everyone have a few take-homes today from class? Okay, that's a good one. And how about kitchen shoes? Okay. Yes, Prabhu, you have a question or a comment? You have a microphone for Veera Chandra Das. Brahmachari.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class. Maybe this Krishna arranged with Leela to engage in cooperation, demigods and demons, and so this is like trick of God. I give you some immortal things, but it's not possible in this world. But they was overwhelmed by this idea and encouraged to cooperate.
Yes, exactly. It's a pastime. Just as I said in the very beginning when we began these chapters, that Viṣṇu could have just come and just saved them all, but he wanted a pastime. And it involved so many devotees, involved many different incarnations of Viṣṇu, from Dhanvantari and Mohini Murti and Kurma. And, in other words, pastime means a pageant of all kinds of personalities and emotions. And Krishna makes it very, very exciting. Krishna's not bland. Okay, like a bureaucrat just stamps it. Okay, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it later. You know, it's just this whole wonderful pastime. He always loves engaging his devotees in service. That's Krishna's personality. Comes himself, manifests many different avatars, different relationships. Big production. Like that, very big production. Like that's Krishna. So we can end here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.